Premiere Pro in 20 minutes. Don't think we can do it? Well, give us the next 20 minutes to prove it to you. Let's dig right in. Go ahead and start up Premiere and make a new project by clicking New Project. Here, you'll have several different project display settings to choose from, as well as scratch disks to set depending on how you like to work. For simplicity, we'll leave these set to Same as Project so that everything's saved to the same place. Click OK and we'll get started. This is the standard layout for editing in Premiere Pro. The layout is customizable for the different stages of post-production, including assembly, color, and audio. To switch back, simply click Window, Workspaces, Editing, or click up here on the Workspace toolbar. Let's import some media. Double-click inside the lower left window to navigate to your footage. Select it and click Import. This is your project window, where all your media and bins will live. Bins, the video term for folders, will make your whole life easier, so let's create one and stay organized right from the start. Either right-click and choose New Bin, or click the New Bin icon on the bottom and name it. Now you can drag and organize your media into different bins to make finding clips easier. No doubt you've noticed a few other tabs within this project window. Let's run through them quickly. The Media Browser allows you to quickly access and preview your files before importing them into your project. The Libraries tab displays the different collections of media you've accumulated and shared between your Adobe projects and accounts. There are also tabs for effects, markers, and history in case you need to backtrack a significant amount. Double-click to open the bin, and then double-click on the media to open it in the source monitor. Now we can preview the clip and set in and out points before placing it on the timeline. To do a quick preview, simply hover your mouse over the thumbnail in the project window and move left and right. Preview the clip by pressing the J, K, and L keys to play backwards, stop, and play forwards, respectively. Pressing either the J key or the L key repeatedly will increase the speed of playback. You can use the arrow keys to move one frame forward or one frame backward, and you can switch between video previewing or audio previewing by clicking these icons below.
Aww, how cute. Cinder wishes she was a Cinderella.
Just take it back.
To choose a section of clip to use in the timeline, set in and out points to define the beginning and end of the clip. Simply position the playhead and press I for the in point, O for the out point. Now you can drag the clip to the timeline, and since we haven't created a sequence yet, Premiere Pro will create one for us. Now that the clip's in the timeline, we can watch our edits in the program monitor using the same J, K, and L keys to play back. Press the Home key to jump to the start of the timeline, and let's cut to the next shot. Here, we want to drop in the reverse angle close-up as the book gets taken from our hero's hands. Press the L key to play through the timeline and find the point at which we want to cut to the new shot.
How cute.
Now in the source monitor, scrub to the point where the action matches in the insert shot. Press I to lock it in as the endpoint. Now let's do another edit, but instead of dragging the clip straight to the timeline, we'll drag it over to the program monitor. This brings up several options we'll get into soon. For now, let's drag and drop the clip onto Overwrite. Press the plus and minus keys to zoom in and out of the timeline. We'll use the J, K, and L keys again to play back.
Aww, how cute. Cinder wishes she was a Cinderella.
Overwrite lives up to its name. The new clip writes over the top of the original clip. But we end up with two problems when we play back. Firstly, the audio is overwritten as well as the video. We want to continue to hear the sound from the original clip and only see the cutaway shot, not hear its audio. The second problem is that the new insert shot completely overwrites the tail end of the original clip. We want to cut back to the original for the real action, but we can't. The video's being completely overwritten. Let's undo our edit by pressing Command Z, and this time we'll decide when we want to cut back to the original video. Now we already know when we want the insert shot to cut in, right here where the book begins to be pulled. We'll press I to set an in point in the timeline. We want to be back on the wide when the girls start laughing, so we'll move there and press O to set an out point for the edit. And we already have the in point set for the insert shot from earlier, just no out point. We can now do what's called a 3-point edit. The 3 points being the in and out point we set in the timeline, and the in point we set in the source monitor. Before we perform the override again, let's address our first problem, the audio. To add only the video clip without audio, simply click the video icon in the source monitor and drag it to the Overwrite tab. When we release the mouse, Premiere adds just the right amount of the selected video clip according to the in and out points we set, and without adding the audio track.
Cinder wishes she was a
3-point
Cinderella.
edits can be performed in a variety of ways. You can also set in and out points for the clip you're editing in, and then just an in point or an out point in the timeline, depending on which edit point requires the most critical timing. If you're new to editing, you'll find that 3-point editing becomes intuitive pretty quickly. Just remember, either the clip in the source viewer will have an in and an out point set, or the timeline will have both in and out points set, while the other clip will have just the in or the out point set. Now before we move on, it's worth noting the source patching selectors. Deselecting these will deactivate the tracks so that the edit functions won't work on them. And selecting source patching on other tracks will add video and audio clips to those tracks. Here we have a case where we want to add a shot in between two other shots. In this case, we'll use an insert edit instead of an override. For speed, the keyboard shortcut for an insert edit is comma, while period is used for an override. When we release the mouse, the clips separate to make room for the inserted clip. Notice that since we had the A1 source patching deactivated, a gap was created in the audio channel. Let's undo the edit, enable the A1 source patching, and perform the insert again. Once your timeline starts to build, you can navigate between edit points by pressing the up and down arrow keys. And if you enable snapping here, the playhead will snap to edit points as you drag it with the mouse. You can press the S key to toggle snapping on and off when you need to do precise placement. Speaking of precision, to zoom in tight on your playhead, press plus. When you're zoomed in, you can pan around the timeline using the thumb slider at the base. And to zoom out again, press minus. Now some editors prefer to stack clips rather than overwrite. You can do this by assigning the video source selected to an empty track, or you can place on top with overlay. If you need an extra track, just right-click and choose Add Track or Add Tracks for multiple. Video on the highest track will be shown in the final edit. Now if you want to temporarily hide the top tracks, click the Toggle Track Output on all tracks you want to hide. Just make sure to click them back on, or else they won't export when it comes time to output your movie. Once clips are placed in the timeline, you'll often want to do some in-place edits. Hovering over an edit point with the selection tool will produce the regular edit tool. Depending on which side of the edit point the tool is hovering, the tool will either trim the outgoing or incoming clip. Notice when trimming that one clip can't extend into another, and will leave a gap so as not to disturb the rest of the timeline. Click and drag to trim a clip, and Premiere will preview your cut in the Program Monitor. Here, we're trimming the A-side clip and previewing where the new edit point will be. The B-side clip remains unchanged because we're not trimming it at all. There are two other tools to manipulate edit points: a ripple edit and a rolling edit. Let's tackle these one at a time. Click here on the toolbar to switch to the ripple edit tool, or press B. Now click and drag on an edit point and notice a similar setup to the regular edit. Drag toward the edit point and you'll extend the clip, rippling other clips further up or down the timeline. Drag away from the edit point, and instead of leaving a gap like we saw with the regular edit tool, the rest of the timeline ripples toward the edit to close the gap that would otherwise have been created. Hold Option on a Mac, Alt on a PC, while you drag to temporarily divorce the video and audio clips. Notice now that only the video clip was extended. To completely separate the video and audio clip, right-click and choose Unlink. Press N to select the Rolling Edit tool. A rolling edit will preserve the rest of the timeline but shift the out point of the A-side clip and in point of the B-side clip. This is useful in multicam edits to preserve synchronization between clips. Notice in the program monitor both clips are changing in response to the edit because they're both equally affected. Holding Option or Alt while dragging works just like with the ripple tool. This is especially useful in creating J and L cuts. Now, clicking and dragging may not be the most accurate way to edit these clips. If you aren't that handy with a mouse or want to avoid carpal tunnel, you can edit with the keyboard. With any of the edit tools selected, click on an edit point and hold Option on a Mac, Alt on a PC, then press either the left or right arrow to shift the edit one frame in that direction. Additionally, holding Shift along with Option or Alt and pressing the arrow keys will shift the edit 5 frames. This works with any of the aforementioned edit tools. As mentioned previously, press the up or down arrow keys to jump to the adjacent edit points, along with the edit tool selection. To add a new edit point within the timeline, press C for the razor tool. Once selected, clicking on a clip will add an edit point. Holding Shift and clicking will add an edit point to every track at that moment in time. There are some handy tools to adjust two adjacent edit points called the Slip Edit and Slide Edit. Instead of adjusting an edit point, we're going to adjust the clip between two edit points. Press Y for the Slip tool. Click and drag a clip left or right, and notice in the project monitor that instead of 2 previews, there are now 4 for the A and B sides of both edit points. In a slip edit, the clip's in and out points on the timeline remain fixed, but the portion of the clip that appears on the timeline shifts forwards or backwards. To help visualize, Premiere makes the selected clip's edit point previews larger and the other previews, which remain unchanged, smaller. To switch to the Slide tool, press U. Click on a clip and drag. This time, the in and out points of the clip remain the same, but the entire clip slides up or down the timeline. In the program monitor, you'll see the reverse to the slip is happening. The clip's in and out points stay fixed, but the previous clip's out point and the next clip's in point change as you slide. The size of the previews are also switched. And we need to round out functionality in the timeline with a couple of other features. Move clips around the timeline simply by dragging and dropping them into new locations. The same kinds of edits you're used to in a word processor work here. Select a clip and then use Command-C or Control-C to copy, Command-X or Control-X to cut, and Command-V or Control-V to paste. The paste will occur at the current playhead position. To paste to a different track, simply click here to toggle on and off track targeting and target the track you want to paste to. Now, audio is one of the most important things to get right in any film or video project. Let's take a deeper look at working with audio in Premiere. To enhance the view of your audio tracks, scroll up on the middle mouse wheel on the left side of the track. Now that we can see the waveform, Let's adjust the levels. Hover your mouse in the middle of the audio track and see how the cursor changes. It's a little hidden, but if you click and drag up and down, the level of the audio clip changes. Now we can adjust the levels between dialogue, music tracks, and sound effects. If you want finer controls of your audio levels, don't worry, we've got you covered. Click the pen tool in the tools bar or press P to add points onto the levels adjuster. Now we can adjust the audio to, for example, hear faint dialogue better, or get rid of unwanted background noise. With all the affordable cameras out there these days, Multicam has become a standard workflow, and in Premiere, it's pretty simple. To start off, you'll need to make a multi-camera source sequence. You'll do this by selecting all the clips that you want to include in your Multicam edit, and then right-clicking and selecting Create Multi-Camera Source Sequence. From there, a dialog box will appear with some options, most of which you'll want to leave alone. The important choice to make here is your synchronize point. This is where you'll tell Premiere the place to join together all of your clips. If you've recorded with timecode, you're all set. Otherwise, you can specify this manually by setting in points, out points, or markers on your clips, or automatically by telling Premiere to analyze your audio waveforms and find a point on its own. Your mileage may vary with this method. After you hit OK, Premiere will spit out your multicam sequence and you're off to the races. Add your multicam sequence to the timeline just like any other clip. Once it's there, though, you'll want to switch to the multicam display mode by double-clicking the clip in the timeline. The source monitor will now display all the clips. With the multicam sequence selected on your timeline, click one of the clips in the monitor to switch it on the timeline. To perform a cut, simply add an edit using either the razor tool or the keyboard shortcut Command K, and then click on your desired angle. If you decide you want to swap one of your edited segments, just move the playhead to the segment you want to change and click a different angle to swap it out. To speed up your editing, you can use the numbers 1 through 9 on the keyboard to cut to a specific angle without having to click in the viewer. Finally, if you want to flatten the multi-clip into a single clip, right-click and choose Multi-Camera Flatten. This can be useful if you're moving an EDL to another software application. Premiere Pro provides a wide variety of transitions for all your wedding slideshow effects. In your project manager, look for the tab called Effects. Here you'll find all the different audio and video effects Premiere has to offer. Right now, let's click down on the Iris folder and drag the Iris cross onto the edit point. Select the transition bar that appears across the edit point and drag the edges in to shorten the length of the effect. To further refine it, click the Effects Panel tab in the source monitor to perfect your Iris cross transition. Stylish? Nope. Well, here's something a bit more practical. Let's go back to the list of transition effects and choose Cross Dissolve, something you might actually reach for on a more regular basis. You can set a single transition as your default transition, making for a faster application to your edits. Right-click on a transition and choose Set Selected as Default Transition. Now click on an edit point and press Command-D on a Mac or Control-D on a PC to add the default video transition you just set. To apply a default audio transition, press Shift-Command-D on a Mac or Shift-Control-D on a PC. You can also right-click on an edit point and choose Apply Default Transitions to immediately apply transitions to both tracks. To delete a transition, just select it and press Delete. Okay, now we're finally ready to get this sucker out into the world. Set your in and out points in the timeline and choose File, Export, Media, or simply press Command-M on a Mac or Control-M on a PC. Under Format in the export settings, choose QuickTime. There are a few presets to choose from, but generally you just want to choose Match Source. To the left, there's a preview window you can use to scrub through the edit and make sure you're exporting the correct segment. If you need to make an adjustment, simply drag the two gray triangles at the bottom. Click on the output name, then navigate to where you want the final file to live. Make sure Export Video and Export Audio are checked, and click Export.